So we are going to just jump into summary writing again, but this time our focus is basically on writing the actual summary, which is the hard part of it. This is the hardest part of it, unfortunately. So we have four objectives, basically to recall how the main point should be created, to list the guidelines of a CSEC summary, and to create a CSEC structured main points, create CSEC structured main points from a given summary, and then finally to write a summary of 120 words from a given extract, which is of course a past paper question. So we have just jump right into it. I do apologize for the late start. Do apologize for the late start. Okay, so let's review quickly. You can type your responses in the chat. What do you remember from our previous discussion as it relates to creating the main points for a summary? And with summary, as you know, is in section 1 or section A of the CSEC paper. Uh, True or false? The main points must be phrases. Write your answer, TRF. True or false? Put your answer in the chat. The main points must be phrases. True or false? Let me just pull up on your side. Very good, Yannick. Very good. No phrases at all. They should not be phrases. Yes, Anisha? They should not be phrases. True or false? Your main points must be lifted from the extract, taken directly out of the extract without changing anything. True or false? Your main points must be lifted from the extract, that is taken directly from the extract without changing anything. Okay. Those persons who believe that you must take it directly from the extract, I am going to have to, as Anisha says, indicate that that is a no-no. You don't take the information directly from the extract. In other words, you wouldn't see a sentence and then write back the sentence in same way. That's a no-no for summary. That's called lifting. It's plagiarism. It's wrong. You do not want to take the phrases directly from the extract. That is wrong. That's a no-no. It's just unfortunate that not many persons are online because they don't understand this particular concept. All right. True or false? When you're writing your main points, you must use your own words. True or false? When you're writing your main points, you must use your own words. Thank you, Anisha. That is very true. That is very true. Not seeing all of you, so I'm trying to pull up the grid view here. Okay. Not seeing everybody at all. Okay. Okay, good. I'm seeing people right here. Lovely. Lovely. So, people, basically, when you're creating that main points, the idea is that you must ensure that you're not using phrases, you're not lifting anything directly from the extract, and whatever you see there, you put in your own words. Let's put this into perspective now. Let's kind of put this into perspective now. So for today, we have a little Jamboard PDF. And the Jamboard PDF basically is a guideline to this summary. I'm going to ask just to take a minute to look at it. So if you're not able to see my screen, I'm going to ask to pull it up from your end. Let me just zoom this out. So there you have it. This was a summary that this is a summary of the previous activity that you were asked to put in your use as multiple choice in order to figure out the main points. There are some points. Take a minute and look at it, please. Okay. So one of the first things you would have appreciated when you're looking at the excerpt, well, the summary, is from the excerpt about the desert. For those of us who can open a new tab and look, or if we have our phones, we have two gadgets working with, we can actually look back and see the excerpts there from the previous class, the one about the desert. This is how it would have been written. Notice a mixture of simple sentences that have several, that are really several main points coming together. In fact, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 sentences here. And this is because this particular person used a number of complex sentences, um, and compound complex sentences in order to create these sentences. So notice he or she had 7 sentences. Is that candidate's response? 7 sentences, and none of these sentences, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8. The shortest sentence, the second sentence, has only 8 words. At maximum, most of the sentences, the longest one I'm seeing here, which will be the second to last one, has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25 words. So when you're thinking about how you write, which is 8 words, most of you write using 8 words, but with the space that we have to use here, I am suggesting that at least if you know you use 8 words per sentence, then you should have at least 13 or more sentences. Remember, you're trying to get 120 words, 120 words you're trying to get. So, if you should know by now how many words you use to write. I remember us doing that process in grade 9. It's very important. All right. Another element too. So when you're writing a sentence, a summary, you're gonna have to use several main points. So it's not just the 5 main points that would make up the summary. You'd have to use other main points. So you'd have to go back and take out other points from the extract. All right. Then remember too that when you're creating these main points, you can create them into simple sentences or complete complex sentences. Then too, you need to ensure that the information that you're presenting as summary is written in one paragraph with no repeated thoughts. Can't overemphasize the use of own words, and then note the connectives that are used there. Despite, and finally, you must have at least 2 connectives to make the thing flow. Then you ensure that you end your summary by stating in brackets the number of words you use. The only piece of extract that you will ever count will be the summary. So you have to count exactly how many words you have used and put in brackets there. So the excerpt read, despite the dry conditions in the desert, some plants and animals still manage to survive there. One of them is the specialist annual plants. Their small life cycles allow them to germinate, grow, and produce seeds during short rainy seasons. These seeds are drought resistant and are able to wait for the next rainy season before starting their life cycles again. The cacti adapts to the dry weather by having swollen stems for water storage and pine-like leaves to minimize water loss through respiration. Skunks generate Skinks generate water from stored fats in their tails, and antelopes, which require very little water, survive in the desert by extracting water from food they eat. Finally, sangros with no adaptive features turn to water holes constantly for help. Nothing is repeated in this extract, and this was a perfect summary as was reflected from the year when it was sat. Now, let's see if we can put some things into perspective. I realized that not many persons were able to give me in their own words the information that was presented in this 2004 CSEC summary piece. Now, what is this piece talking about? Basically, if you look down at the end of the page, you see the word dossier migration. Well, even though you might not know what dossier mean, the fact that the migration is there, it means that the information in this extract focuses on migration. So what you need to do for self now is to analyze the extract in terms of migration. So each paragraph by paragraph, you say to yourself, what is this talking about as it relates to migration? What is this talking about? Now, I am going to be reading the first paragraph, and you're going to be thinking about writing for yourself, that one sentence that you think the first paragraph is saying about migration. Remember, you can't lift. So the two sentences that I'm reading should not be presented as an example of the 5 points, nor should it make up a part of your summary. That is lifting and that is plagiarism. All right. So here we go. I'm going to read a paragraph for you. The International Organization for Migration, IOM, divides international migrants into two major groups: those who migrate from their own free will, leaving to study, work, or join their family abroad, and those who flee to escape persecution, conflict, repression, or national disasters. What is that one sentence they're telling us about migration? Now think about it carefully and write for yourself in your own words, what is that telling us about migration? The International Organization for Migration divides international migrants into two major categories: those who migrate for their own free will, leaving to work, leaving to study or work, or join their family abroad, and those who flee to escape persecution, conflict, repression, or natural disasters. I'm going to give you a minute to think about that because you had this from last week. All right. Which person is brave enough to respond? Which person is brave enough to share their one sentence? You can type it in the chat. That brave-hearted person who is brave enough to share one sentence, type it in the chat, please. One sentence from that point there. If you're brave enough, even if you're not so brave, just share.
Please, I would like to try my
Yes, please,
question.
go ahead. Go ahead, please. I appreciate trials. Go ahead.
Migration Migration are divided into two groups. There are persons who migrate for family matters and also persons who migrate for different reasons.
All right, I like that. So what I would say migrants, not migration. I would say migrants are divided into two groups: persons who migrate for family matters. Yes, that would take in the education and the um uh yeah, the education and all those personal things. And why not end the other reasons? Though end by saying those with unfortunate experiences. That would take into those who are victims of oppression, as well as those persons who are also persons who are running away because of natural disasters that they have faced. So I would put the last part, instead of putting different reasons, put instead unfortunate situations. Say it again, though, so that persons at least can try to hear how it should be written, because that was well done. Thank you so much for that comment.
Miss, you want me to read it again?
Yes, please, so that other persons can enjoy the
Migra-
experience. Oh, sorry, unmute,
migrants
please.
are divided.
Go
Okay.
ahead, go ahead. Sorry
Migrants
about.
Migrants are divided into two groups. There are persons who migrate for family matters and also persons who migrate for unfortunate issues.
Yes. Very good, very good. Anybody else wishing to share that would share another point? Because you could get 2 points from that one sentence that I read. She didn't focus on well, I think she captured most of it. Yeah, but there is one little part that is left out that probably someone else might want to capture. Can I have someone else sharing something different? And I hope we're taking notes. Come quickly, people. We don't have much time. And she captured more than 10 words. So for now, so off the bat, I know right then that seeing that you have captured more than 10 words, you only need to get 120 words. What it means for you is that you probably need to have at least 10 sentences. So once you've captured more than 10 words, you probably need to have at least 10 sentences. I'm waiting. One more share. I'm waiting for one more person to share something else that has not been said from that sentence. I'll give you another minute to share. All right, let me see what Deborah has written. All right, Deborah, here what is wrong with this now. You are giving me a definition, but the definition was not presented in the extract. So you don't want to work outside of the extract. You want to stick to the information in the extract. So I hope that that was helpful for you. Type yes if you understand what I'm saying. So in relating your main point, you don't want to go outside of the extract. You want to stick to the information in the extract. So I'm glad that you did that so that we could clear up that point. All right, somebody else. Who was willing to try? I'd asked for one more, and Devar did give me one more, so I'm going to stick to that and then go to the next point. Here, my point that I had. I had 2 points. Here, what I had. The body concerned with international migrants has two groups. Those with well, these are victims of unfortunate situation and those who intend to satisfy personal needs. That was mine. Let me see Talicia's own. People also migrate because of disputes and disasters. Don't put on the problem because all of them are problem, Talicia. So take out the problem. People, and don't put also because it's not time for also yet. Just put people migrate because of disputes and disasters. That will be fine. Thank you very much, Talicia. All right. Let's go to the second point. How would you rephrase the latter part? Categories, the two categories fairly rapidly become interdependent. What do you think they're saying about that? What do they mean by that in your own words? The two categories fairly rapidly become interdependent. What do you think they mean by that? Anybody wants to try? Can you take that down in your own words in at least 5 words? I have done it. Does anybody want to try? You can put that in your own words in 5 words. Anybody want to try? The two categories fairly rapidly become interdependent. And for those of us who don't know what interdependent means, it means that they both categories, that's the category of persons who have unfortunate situations, who are faced with like disasters, and those persons who are um, thinking about satisfying their personal needs, they rely on each other. So to become interdependent means to depend on each other, rely on each other. So could you think about creating a sentence from the latter part of the first paragraph in 5 words? I have done it. Can you try it? The two categories fairly rapidly become interdependent. Let me give you a minute to think about it. Then I share my thought. So we want to get that particular last sentence to the first paragraph into 5 words in our own words. Bearing in mind that interdependent means that they depend on each other.
It's
Yes,
my
please go
turn.
ahead. I do appreciate anybody who's willing to try. Go ahead, please.
It's these two categories dependent on each other or partially dependent on each other. So
Let
it
me
could be
see.
these two
Two
categories
categories
partially dependent on each
depend
other.
on each other. All right, two categories depend on each other. That's 6. I'll work with it. I'll work with it. I'll work with it. I'll work with it. All right. The two categories partly depend on each other. I'll work on that. Yes. All right. Don't just start by saying categories and Talicia. Start by saying both. Both depend on each other. Both start depending on each other. Yeah. Both have started depending on each other. Do it like that, Talicia. Both have started depending on each other. That would be a perfect. If you start the saying by categories like that, it kind of throw everything off. Both have started depending on each other. All right. Thank you so much for your response. Let's move into the second paragraph now. The second paragraph has for us one long winding sentence and a minor sentence. So there's sorry. Oh, it's not one long winding sentence. It's actually 3 sentences. Let's see what it is saying. And remember, we're focusing on migration. I hope we're making notes. Because so far we have been given about 3 points so far. So it goes, migrant flows are always from the poorest countries with a low probability of employment towards less poor and more dynamic countries where there's an opportunity to find some sort of job. What is that saying? I remember it's a new point. We're focusing. So this is a new point. So we have to focus on it. Migrant flows are always from poor countries with low probability of employment towards less poor and more dynamic countries where there is an opportunity to find some sort of job. I got 4 words in my brain. Anybody can beat that? In 4 words, what is that saying? Give me a minute to think about it. Four words I got. Migrant flows are always some person people migrate to get job. Is that really what that is saying though? Is it saying people migrate to get job? It said migrant flows are always from the poorest countries with low. This is telling you where migrants come from, not necessarily what migrant, why they migrate. So I appreciate your point, Stephen, but remember that sentence is focusing on where they come from, where migrants come from. Not really why they, not the reason why they migrate. This is something that you know, but what is quoted here in the extract is completely different from what you know. So you have missed the point completely. All right. So migrant flows are always from. That for us is telling you that this sentence is telling us where migrants come from. So migrant flows are always from the poorest country with a low probability of employment towards less poor and more dynamic country where there's an opportunity to find some sort of job. So I got 4 words.
Yeah,
All right, try for me, please. Who is that? Who is that? I didn't see the person. I'm sorry. I had the chat open.
let's see. Miss, how about people mainly migrate from poor countries to other countries with more dynamics? Mainly, majority of the time to get jobs.
You're working same way with Stephen. But as I'm saying, is that you have missed the point. The point from the first sentence of the second paragraph is not necessarily why people migrate, but where migrants come from. So you are focused on why they migrate. That would be throwing off the whole context of the information. The second paragraph here starts by focusing on where they come from. That could be a point, but that is not the whole truth. That could be a point. I appreciate that point, but that's part of the truth. That's not a sentence, Talicia. That's not a sentence. Rephrase it again and tell me in a sentence. Did you read it over? Because that's definitely not a sentence. What is this saying about where migrants come from? Read it up, fix it, Talicia, and then send it back. That's not a sentence, Talicia. That is rather very confusing thought. Perspective. All right, here are you gonna laugh at yourself now. Here my answer. Migrants come from anywhere. That's what that is saying. Migrants come from anywhere. So they come from the migrants come from poor countries or they might come from the country poor. They might come from poor countries where there's less job opportunities, or they might come from countries where job opportunities are there. All right, and I'm saying, Janine, not so bad at all. But remember, you have migrants. It should be come. So migrants come from poor countries where there are less jobs. Yes, that's but you have to go start by saying some, because that first sentence is speaking to both issues. Those persons who come from poor countries and those persons who come from dynamic countries. That is why, for me, my sentence would be migrants come from all over the world. That first part there, Devar, is telling me that you're lifting, sir. Once you put migrant flow is from poor countries, you lifted a whole thought there. So you have stolen from the people, Devar. You have stolen from the people. And so that would be plagiarism. Yeah, yes, that would be a sentence, Talicio. That would be a sentence. Migrants, and remember, migrants come from countries where there's unemployment. But is that the only truth? They come from country. Fix it up, Talisa. You can say a migrant comes from countries where there's unemployment, where there is or are unemployment. There is unemployment, or there are there or they can get they can get employment, which is why I'm saying they come from all over the world. All right, I think that part of it is captured. Let's go back to see what it is saying there. So now we've understood that particular sentence. Yes, migrants are everywhere. Yes, that would be your own thoughts, Diamond. Remember the full stop. Why, Yannick, why we have that? Migrants come from countries where they can get unemployment. Nobody no one get unemployment. Fix up that last part. Do not give examples. Stephen, do not give example. So probably can say migrants come from countries where they can get jobs. That will be a sentence. Don't put in no example in it. We don't put examples in summary. All right. So migrants come from countries where they can get jobs. That's a fact. All right. Let's go down now. Over the last few years, let's see if this is another point. Over the last few years, international migrants have intensified with media referring to regionalization and globalization of migrants. As if to illustrate the phenomena, the media recently reported the plight of Nigerians prepared to take on the desert to seek a better life in Libya. What is that saying though? Especially the last part. I think we captured the second sentence in the second paragraph is a repetition. So they come from many different regions all over the world. Because that is what regionalization is. Many different regions, and globalization means all over the world. Right? So migrants come from many regions all over the world. So that will be the sentence that is focusing on. So I hope we'll have logged that for ourselves. Everybody should have something that says migrants come from many different regions all over the world. So that should capture that. Oh, zoom it in. All right, let me maximize it. All right, because I wanted to see what you're saying in the chat. All right, so let me just maximize that. Let me pull up on the screen. Let me get that out. All right. Is that any better? Is that any better? Is that better, Barnes? Are you able to see much better, Barnes? Okay, lovely. So here we are now at the latter part of our second paragraph. And this is an illustration, but we don't use illustration in summary. But the illustration has a message. What is the illustration telling us? It's a new point, actually. What is it that you get from that illustration? Let me read the illustration again. As if to illustrate the phenomena, the media recently reported the plight of Nigerians prepared to take on the desert to seek a better life in Libya. What's the point? What's the point? Okay. What's the point? Anybody got the point? What's the point? So we're now looking at, yes. So put that in a sentence now, Devar. Please put that in a sentence now. Put that in a sentence now. Because the idea there is that they come to seek a better life. So put it in a sentence now. Because that wouldn't be a point, because that's a phrase. So we need to put that in a sentence. Missing the point, Diamond. You're missing the point. It has nothing to do with deserts. It has nothing to do with deserts. It's actually what you're saying at the end of it, to seek a better life. And we know Nigerians are really poor countries. So the point for me is saying that many who are from poor countries migrate to seek a better life. Or you could have said, Diamond, Nigerians migrate to seek. Most Nigerians even migrate to seek a better life. Reports have said that most Nigerians migrate to seek a better life. That could be a better sentence. Devar, we're still waiting on your sentence. Yours is a phrase. All right. So now I am sure by now we would have had about 5 points, but we have not even touched the third paragraph. So we have had 5 points so far. We have not touched the third paragraph. Yes, I like that, Stephen. Remember to start with your capital N. But don't put travel, put migrate. I like that, Janelle. I like that. I like that, Janelle. Put in the migrates, Yannick. Nigerians migrate to seek for a better life, or to seek a better life. Don't take out the at remain. So Nigerians migrate to get better opportunities. That would be nice. That would be perfect. Fix it up. I like that sentence now, Devar. The Nigerians are migrating to seek a better life, and that would be perfect. I love that, Anisha. I love that, Anisha. Lovely sentence. Remember to end with your full stop. And I think we have gotten the point right there now. Let's go into our third paragraph. So I hope right now that for most of us, we were writing down some of these points. So we have 5 points already, but we have not even touched the third paragraph. So let's go into the third paragraph. Sir, thank you so much for your contributions. Hence, they migrate. All right, Diamond. So some Nigerians want to seek a better life, hence they migrate. Yes, Barnes, that's better. Take off the S of the end, though. Take off the S of the end. Just end with life, full stop. In recent months, focusing now on our third paragraph, in recent months, Europeans have become aware of demographic downturns and the aging of the population that will set in over the next few decades. The dearth of manpower in certain sectors is becoming a serious problem in numerous countries, requiring a rethinking of the zero migration policies that have prevailed in recent years. What's the point? We have some big words there. In recent months, Europeans have become aware of demographic downturns and the aging of the population that will set in over the next few decades. The dearth of manpower in certain sectors is becoming a serious problem in numerous countries, requiring a rethinking of the zero migration policies that have prevailed in recent years. So we have two sentences there, two new points. Demographic is a big word. Demographic has to do with what? Anybody knows? Dearth is a big word. Anybody knows what that has to do with? And when we talk about zero migration policies, what are we talking about? Because you have to focus on those expressions. So let's look for the meaning of the word demographic to put some idea on what the demographic mean. What does demographic mean? Anybody found it? Have you found the meaning of the word demographic? We have gone over time, but I'm hoping that you bear up with me. What does the word demographic mean? Anybody knows? Just open up a new tab and find it. All right. So demographic has to do with the structure of um, population. So when I look at how people and downturn means that the problems that people face. So when the Europeans look at the problems that people face in the world, um, they're projecting that the next couple of 10 years, in the next couple of 10 years, the situation as it relates to manpower, man working, and so will be very serious. And so for most countries who are talking about not zero migration means that person don't want to think about migration. So what do you understand from it? Let me see what the verse is saying. That is not a sentence, Devar. That's not a sentence at all. It's very topsy turvy. That's not a sentence. Yeah, but because the message is lost, Devar. Because it's not a sentence, the message is lost. The dearth of manpower. I don't think you understand what it is saying, Finnegan. You took that straight from the extract. You have stolen. You took that from the extract. So what is it saying? What is it saying? So when major countries think about the problems that might be seen by populations worldwide for the next couple of decades, they think that countries need to start remove remove their policies that are against migration. That's the point, Based on the situation, a population, persons within the country will be faced with for the next couple of years, many countries will have to remove those policies that they have against migration. Because zero migration means that there are countries that don't believe that people should be migrating. Did you get that point? Because that's a new point. Our last paragraph, because I don't want to take you too much out of your comfort zone. Your last paragraph there said, what are the effects of migration on the countries of origin? Funds sent by migrants to families back home often play a considerable part in the development of the local economy. However, when highly qualified persons leave their home country, the investment made by the developing countries in their higher education is lost. To remedy this, programs have been set up to encourage my immigrants to return so that they can contribute to the economic development of their home country. The problem is increasingly affecting India and countries in Africa. It will persist as long as there is labor shortage in wealthy countries in sectors hungry for highly qualified personnel and offering attractive salaries. So that last paragraph there is a wealth of information. They're talking about brain drain. So persons who are qualified have been leaving the different countries, and when they leave, they're able to support their families, back their families in their home countries. But when this happened, that home country is now faced with financial situation. And so many countries now want to fix this problem by encouraging their citizens to return home to contribute financially. But we know that the problem with migration will remain because once there is a need, especially if the salaries are high and the countries are wealthy countries, persons are going to migrate. That's the point. So I'm going to bid you farewell now as you endeavor to try to know, put all that you have learned into perspective now in order to create your summary of 120 words. You have a wealth of information to work with. Remember now, focus now not on using phrases. Try to use complete sentences. Try to understand what it is saying and then put it back in your own words. And remember to use at least one or two of the transitional phrases in order to support your details. All right? So I see where to some extent many persons are understanding much better now how they would go about making their um, summaries, especially as it relates to writing in their own words. So just work now on fixing the second paragraph and the third paragraph so that your information will not be lost. So do that now for self and just write it in your book, write your summaries in your book, and then send it as an attachment. Please and thank you. All right. So if we're understanding what to do, uh, give me a thumbs up and then leave. Do we understand what needs to be done by us? So from 1 to 3, what's your understanding of how you go about some summary today? Yes, I can see that you understood, Anisha. Give me a thumbs up and then you may go. Once you've understood, all right, a little bit better. Yes, Janila, I see that you're a little bit understand a little bit more. Yes, Yannick, I can see your effort in understanding, and I am also waiting on some other the other persons who are here. What about you, Davar? Do you think you've understand now? And Tremaine and Barnes. Matt Knight, you're rather quiet. Do you understand what to do? So go ahead now, people. Go ahead now. Go back through the paragraph slavishly. Ensure that you have your 5 points. I've given you 5 points, so you're not supposed to have 2 or 3. All right, so you're wavering in and out. All right, we watch the video, Tremaine, and then see if it makes sense to you. But I remember you had a previous contribution that did make some sense. It's just that you needed more to put it in um sentence. Yeah, it was sort of sent there. So I suspect it's because you joined a bit late. So remember, you need to have the 5 points, and you need to ensure that you have your summary. All right, so I'm gonna present the video. I'm gonna hopefully before you're ready to write it by 1 o'clock, you will get the recording to assist you. All right. So do enjoy the rest of the day, and you have a lovely day until God permits us to meet again tomorrow. Okay. You may go and enjoy the rest of the day.